Okay, hello everyone. Happy New Year. During this declared state of emergency, the meeting will be conducted in accordance with California Government Code 54953E as authorized by resolution of the City Council. Please contact city.clerk@mountainview.gov to obtain a copy of the applicable resolution. All members of the Board of Library Trustees will participate in the meeting by video conference with no physical meeting location. All votes will be taken by roll call vote. Now I will ask the library director to proceed with roll call.
Phyllis Bismanowski.
Present.
Kristen Higaki.
Present.
Eric Nerlich.
Present.
Sharon Sue.
Present.
Nicole Vogt.
I'm here.
Okay, number 3, minutes approval. Minutes for the December 12th, 2022 meeting have been delivered to board members. If there are no corrections or additions, a motion is in order to approve these minutes. Public comment. Would any member of the public on the line like to provide comment on an item on the minutes approval? If so, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. The library director will display the timer on the screen. Okay, so for library board deliberation and action, library director will conduct the vote by roll call, but I don't think that we have a motion, right?
Oh, I'll be happy to make a motion. I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes. And I think this might be something which by convention, Phyllis and Sharon and I would vote on, and Eric and Kristen might abstain on since they were not attending the meeting.
Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second it, I guess.
Thank you. So Tracy, is this when we take the roll call by vote?
Yes, unless there's any notes or questions from the minutes but it doesn't look like it, so I can start the vote.
Okay.
Phyllis Bismanowski.
Yes.
Kristen Higaki.
So I think this is where I abstain. Yes, abstain.
Eric Nerlich.
Abstain.
Sharon Sue.
Yes.
Nicole Vogt.
Yes.
Okay, number 4, oral communications. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the board on any matter not on the agenda. Speakers are allowed to speak on any topic for up to 3 minutes during this section. If there appears to be a large number of speakers, speaking time may be reduced to no less than 1.5 minutes. State law prohibits the board from acting on non-agenda items. Would any member of the public on the line like to provide comment on non-agenda items? If so, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. The library director will display the timer on the screen. I do not see any hands or anybody. If I'm looking in the wrong place, Tracy, will you let me know? I'm looking at the panelists and attendees,
I see one attendee.
but I don't see any hands.
Right. Yeah. But it's great. We have one.
Yeah,
Correct.
welcome.
No raised hands.
Yes, but welcome. We always love seeing attendees and also panelists. Okay, I think the next one is item number 5, donations. 5.1, library donations. The recommendation to accept library donations. I see a $400 donation from Cecily Chang and a $1,000 donation from Rebecca Galiotto. So for public comment, would any member of the public on the line like to provide comment on this item? If so, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. The library director will display the timer on the screen. I do not see any hands. So for library board deliberation and action, is there a motion to accept the donations or to make any comments from board members? Phyllis,
I move we accept the donations.
is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any other comments from board members? Okay, it sounds like we can take the vote by roll call from the library director.
Phyllis Bismanowski,
Yes.
Kristen Higaki,
Yes.
Eric Nerlich,
Yes.
Sharon Sue,
Yes.
Nicole Vogt.
Yes.
Item number 6. Well, I think in previous acceptances, we wanted to thank the generous donations. We're really thankful for the support of the library, and we want to steward the funds well. And so we're really excited for this year 2023, both the new year and also the new year of either the rabbit or the cat, depending on how you celebrate the Lunar New Year. So.
And just to note, these 2 donations requested they go to youth programs, so they will go to youth programming.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Tracy. Okay, item number 6, presentations. We have a staff presentation from Kyle. Hello, Kyle. Thank you for coming. I think this is when I read the public comment. Is that right, Tracy?
It'll be after, because the
It'll be
public
after,
can
okay.
comment after.
Okay.
And I'll have Melvin introduce Kyle.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, library board members. I wanna introduce, I'm excited to introduce one of the most prolific staff of like the adult and digital division. Kyle Val has been part of like the division for many years. He's an adult librarian. He's currently responsible for program coordination for adult services. He started as a tech aide many years ago. When he applied as a tech aide, I can still remember him asking, he was like in between like careers, and he was asking if he should like go to library school, and we advised him, yes, why not? So he finished his library degree in 2 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, while working as an hourly in the library. He started as a tech aide, got promoted as an hourly library assistant, then an hourly librarian, and he's now currently a librarian. Kyle would be talking about adult programming at the library, and without further ado, Kyle.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction, Melvin. I guess we'll just get started here. So let me just start sharing my screen here. All right. All right, and is everyone seeing my presentation on the screen? You seeing the first slide there? All right, great. Well, as Melvin mentioned, yeah, my name is Kyle Val. I'm a librarian in the Adult and Digital Division, and I'm now the program coordinator for all of our adult events. And I'm excited to showcase some of our programs for you over the last several years for you tonight. So first of all, I'd like to talk about our program goals for the library. Our programs aim to entertain, educate, and celebrate the diverse community of Mountain View. All programs meet community needs and interests in various areas such as education, literacy, technology, sustainability, culture, and entertainment to support lifelong learning. We strive to strengthen our community by offering programs that are inclusive and reflective of our cultural, racial, and social diversity. Additionally, all of our programs support major library initiatives and city council goals. So first of all, I'd also like to just take a moment to acknowledge and thank the Friends of the Mountain View Library. So all of our presenters for our events are topic experts, or they're from organizations and nonprofits that partner with the library. And most of these presenters provide their expertise for free. However, for some high-profile events, presenters require an honorarium for their time. All of the paid events are generously sponsored by the Friends of the Mountain View Library. The funds that they generate from their quarterly book sales and our lobby shop inside the library as well enable us to pay our presenters and offer high quality programs for our community. So we're very thankful for the support and generosity of the Friends of the Mountain View Library. And so as Melvin mentioned, I am in the adult division. So all of the programs that I organize for the library are all geared towards adults and young professionals, and everyone from young professionals to senior citizens and everyone in between. We have a very diverse community here in Mountain View, and we try to offer a little bit of everything to satisfy different needs and interests. And of course, all of the events are completely free to the public. We never charge for anything at the library. So now I'm going to take you on a little trip through memory lane of the last few years as we've adapted to doing virtual programming. So with the onset of the pandemic in March 2020, all in-person events were canceled indefinitely, and our access to the building was closed to both the public and staff for several months. With no clear picture as to when service levels would return to back to pre-pandemic levels, our staff quickly regrouped and we started offering virtual programs to our community on Zoom. Both adult and youth divisions began hosting online programs as early as the first week of May 2020. So shown on the top right there, you can see a screenshot from our popular ESL Conversation Club. This was always a very popular event prior to the pandemic, and it quickly took off as a virtual program as well. Local attendees began spreading the word to family members from outside the Mountain View area. And within a couple of weeks, we started seeing people zooming in from out of state and even out of the country from locales such as Mexico and Japan and Texas. Shown on the bottom right there, you can see a screenshot from another one of our marquee virtual programs in 2020. This was Step Into Your Power, a discussion with Jamia Wilson. This was a discussion about women's rights and race in America following the widespread protest movement in summer 2020. We were joined by author, activist, and renowned speaker, Jamia Wilson. This was also in recognition of Women's History Month as well. We had a very productive discussion, and we concluded that with a lively audience Q&A, which I moderated. So during this first year of the pandemic, the adult division offered virtual ESL conversation clubs, as I mentioned, several author talks, a virtual bike clinic, craft programs, and much more. We also expanded our offerings of, let me go back here. Sorry about that. So as I said, we also expanded our offerings of digital resources during the pandemic. So to showcase these various resources that we added, we started hosting digital library workshops to educate our community about using new resources like the streaming service video streaming service Canopy, for example. On the right there, you can see an image of my colleague Court Fields, who's also now he's a senior librarian, but at the time he was a librarian in our division. And he's offering a live tutorial on how to use Canopy. By the end of fiscal year 2020 and 2021, the adult division hosted a total of 167 virtual programs with a total of 3,401 attendees. So now we're looking into pandemic year 2. So as our service levels started to move towards pre-pandemic levels in fiscal year 2021, 2022, we continued with virtual programs, but we slowly brought back more in-person programs with within the limits of the county and city health orders, of course. In August 2021, we offered a virtual Gender and Sexuality 101 workshop, which covered the spectrum of gender and sexuality, including crucial terminology and inclusive language. You can see that photo on the top right, which is from the presentation, and also you can watch the full presentation online on the Mountain View Public Library YouTube page. Our first return to in-person programs that year was the city's weekly rent relief and eviction help center in September 2021. Staff from the city's housing division assisted members of the community impacted by the pandemic by helping them access critical COVID relief resources. And in this same fiscal year, we also brought back Sci-Fi September. So after a year hiatus, we didn't do it in 2020, but we brought it back in 2021. So Sci-Fi September is an annual Mountain View Public Library tradition in which we offer events that celebrate both science fiction and the real life science that inspires the stories. Our highly educated community of avid readers and science buffs always look forward to this series of programs every year, and we were so glad to be able to bring it back. For September 2021, we hosted an author talk with Bay Area sci-fi author Mike Chen, where he discussed his latest novel, We Could Be Heroes. We also hosted a program with NASA scientist Jose Benavides, who discussed the free-flying robots on the International Space Station. We also offered a sci-fi trivia night and even a sci-fi themed craft night, among others. This all fiscal year also saw the return of some of our recurring in-person events, such as the drop-in bike clinic. So every third Saturday of the month, professional bike mechanic Ryan Murphy comes to the library to help community members fix up their bikes for free, or he offers advice on how to address more serious issues he can't handle right then and there. You can see him on the top right there. He's changing a tire for one of our customers. We also saw the return of our free tax preparation help program during tax season. And additionally, we hosted our first in-person musical performance since the pandemic closure. And that was in November 2021. We hosted the Dave Rocha Jazz Quartet. And you can see them there. They performed in Pioneer Park. They performed a set of jazz standards and original tunes to a crowd of 120 people in Pioneer Park. And so in total, the adult division offered 207 programs in fiscal year 2021-2022, with a combined attendance of 3,974 attendees, of which 1,326 were from in-person programs. And so now we're looking at this year. So even with the library's return to pre-pandemic service levels and the return of a lot more in-person programs, we're going to continue to offer virtual programs. Not only is it convenient for working adults after a long day at the office, but virtual events also provide expanded accessibility for people who are homebound with mobility issues or disabilities. Furthermore, program surveys that we conducted from the last fiscal year indicated that many customers would still like to attend virtual programs going forward. Over 53% of the people that we surveyed said that they would prefer the virtual format. From July through November 2022, we hosted 37 in-person programs and 36 virtual. We'll continue to monitor the trends and attendance to find the right balance of in-person and virtual programs, but we envision some number of virtual programs continuing alongside our in-person programs for some time for the foreseeable future. And on the right there, you can see a photo from an ancient Egyptian history program we hosted in July 2022 on Zoom. We were joined by renowned Egyptologist and author Kara Cooney, who gave a talk about her book, The Good Kings: Absolute Power in Ancient Egypt and the Modern World. A total of 53 people logged in to watch this event live on Zoom. And so now I'm just going to cover some of the different categories of programs that we offer at the library. We always try to offer a good variety of things in different categories to satisfy different city council goals as well as needs from our community. So here are some different programs that promote civic engagement and support vulnerable populations. So we have Elevate MV. That was when we were one of the application hubs for the city's City Council's pilot guaranteed basic income program back in September 2022. A total of 138 applicants were able to submit their application for the pilot program at the library. We also are continuing our Housing and Eviction Help Center, where we continue to offer a venue for members of the community to access needed eviction resources. This is twice a month and ongoing. We're currently doing it on Thursdays, every first and third Thursday, I believe, but don't quote me, I'll double check the calendar. Let's see, also in the same category, we hosted an Introduction to Medicare Basics, where older adults could get information on navigating Medicare. And we hosted in December 2022 an event called Identifying and Interrupting Microaggressions. In this presentation, we were joined by volunteers from the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CARE, and they discussed microaggressions, explored examples that are commonly experienced, and they role-played through real-life scenarios with community members. And another major category of programs that we offer are programs that celebrate multiculturalism and promote inclusion. So one of the ones that we've offered a couple times now is an Ask a Dietitian program. And this is a Chinese bilingual wellness program. It's in partnership with the Chinese Health Initiative of El Camino Hospital. And wellness topics are presented both in English and in Mandarin. This started in July 2021, and the latest was in August of 2022. It's been one of our most popular virtual programs over the last several years, with our last two boasting more than 50 attendees live on Zoom, which is very impressive for a Zoom program. Also, we're hosting our ESL Conversation Club. That's been continuing, and we've been seeing a lot of growth with that as well. It's a weekly meetup where people can practice their spoken English and learn about American mainstream culture in a relaxed, social, and non-judgmental setting. This is a weekly ongoing program every Wednesday. Some other programs in this category, we hosted a program on the brief history of Indian civilization. This was a lecture and presentation by author and historian Namit Arora on Indian history of the last 5,000 years. And as you can see here, we hosted how to have difficult conversations about race, practical tools and necessary change in the workplace and beyond, with author Kwame Christian. And just last week, we hosted a Lunar New Year celebration and painting workshop. This was a brief talk about the customs of the Lunar New Year, followed by a hands-on painting class where community members learned to paint zodiac animals and flowers to ring in the year of the rabbit. You can see one of our customers proudly showing off her work there on the bottom right. And so another major area of programs that we like to offer, a category that's very popular with our community, are programs that provide recreational activities and entertainment. So we've brought back our Sing and Play Along Ukulele Jam. We started that up again in July 2022. In this event, participants learn how to play chords on the ukulele and then perform and sing along to popular songs that use those chords. We have over a dozen ukuleles that are accessible for the community in this program, and those are all provided by the Friends of the Library, generously from them. We hosted the Aurora Mandolin Ensemble in July 2022, and as you can see from that first photo there, it was a very popular event. They performed pieces from their wide-ranging repertoire of old European, semi-classical, and contemporary pieces, show tunes, and popular oldies. We hosted a fantastic creatures drawing workshop in September 2022, where local illustrator and art instructor Karen Luck led an interactive workshop on sketching fantastical beasts and imagined monsters. This was part of our Sci-Fi September series of events for 2022. And on the bottom there, you can see a photo that we took at the Opera San Jose performance in October 2022. Resident artists from Opera San Jose performed arias from some of the greatest operatic works, and 53 people attended this live in-person performance. Some other ones as well, such as the 3D printing workshop. At that one, participants learned how to design their own mini jack-o'-lanterns with 3D printing software, and then we printed their creations for them with using our own 3D printer. Another category of programs that we like to offer are informational programs and programs that promote a love of reading. So in July 2022, we hosted Alka Joshi. She's the New York Times bestselling author who wrote The Henna Artist, as well as The Secret Keeper of Jaipur. This was part of our online author series, which I will be discussing a bit in one of our upcoming slides. We hosted also in Sci-Fi September 2022 an author talk with popular fantasy author Jim Butcher. In this event, I interviewed best-selling author of the Dresden Files and Codex Alera book series, and named Jim Butcher, and he engaged with his fans and readers about his popular series. 193 people tuned in to watch this one live, and now the recording on YouTube has over 8,800 views on our YouTube page. So that's pretty impressive. That's definitely our highest viewed video on the Mountain View Library YouTube page. We also hosted an event called The Rise and Reign of the Mammals. In this event, we were joined by author and paleontologist Steve Brusati, who offered a fascinating and enthusiastic presentation on the evolution of mammals from the age of dinosaurs up to our current day. And interestingly enough, he actually zoomed in all the way from Scotland. So we had to kind of navigate the time difference, but we made it work, and it was a really great event. And that photo there you can see is from an event we did with popular cat behaviorist, Animal Planet TV personality, and popular YouTuber Jackson Galaxy. It was called Cat Q&A with Jackson Galaxy was the event. In this program, I interviewed him and fielded questions from the audience. Jackson enlightened us about many misunderstood feline topics, such as overstimulation from petting, best practices for trimming your cat's nails, and much more. City Communications Coordinator Shonda Ranson actually sent us that photo there, and you can see her and her cats were enjoying that program from home. And last month we hosted, also part of our online author series, we had a author talk with Frederick Bachman, best-selling author of A Man Called Uwe. Frederick Bachman is he's the #1 New York Times best-selling author of A Man Called Uwe. Britt Marie Was Here, Beartown, and many other popular novels, some of which have been adapted into movies and TV series. And over 140 people tuned in to watch that event live. And so we also like to offer events that promote sustainability and wellness. So I already mentioned our drop-in bike clinic that we offer every month. It's a very popular event. We also hosted in November 2022 an event called Purifying Wastewater to Combat the Drought. In this event, Valley Water, we were joined by the organization Valley Water, and they offered a free virtual tour of the Silicon Valley Advanced Water Purification Center. Attendees learned about the advanced treatment processes and the role of recycled and purified water as a future sustainable water supply. Furthermore, we offered the healing power of meditation in August 2022. In this event, we were joined by clinical physician Dr. Matthew Rader, who presented the latest clinical research on how meditation can improve physical, mental, and spiritual health. And so, as I mentioned earlier, we recently started this new series called the Online Author Series. So in July 2022, we launched this series. We joined Professional Book Club's Library Speakers Consortium. And with the Online Author Series, we give access to the Mountain View community to talks with best-selling authors and renowned thought leaders covering a wide range of topics. And we get to work with at least 2 up to 4 every month. In this series, we've hosted noted speakers such as Alka Joshi, Frederick Bachman, Geraldine Brooks, Simon Winchester, Dr. Marcia Chalatane, to name a few. And they've all guested on this online series. Membership in the consortium was funded by the Friends of the Mountain View Library, so thank you again to the Friends. These talks are live streamed, and attendees can register in advance to submit questions to the speaker at the event, but also all of the events are recorded, and most past recordings are available to watch on the library's Online Author Series page indefinitely, and they show up on the page almost right after the event concludes. The Mountain View community has really embraced this author series with a combined total of 762 registrations, 308 live views, and 985 on-demand views from July through December 2022. Another interesting event that I really would like to highlight is the Human Library. So the library collaborated with the Worldwide Human Library to host Human Library events at our own library So if you're not familiar, what the Human Library, it aims to ignite dialogue and understanding between people by creating a safe space to have conversations that challenge society's stereotypes and prejudices. During the event, community members who registered in advance can check out a human book to read in one-on-one conversations. So each book in our Human Library is a real person who's available to answer questions about their unique experience and perspective. So books in the Human Library, they often represent a group in our society that is subjected to prejudice or stigmatization or discrimination because of their lifestyle or their beliefs, their disability, social status, ethnic origin, etc. So we hosted our first Human Library event back in July of 2022, which you can see that photo over there from that event. And then just this past Saturday, we hosted it again on January 21st. And during this event, we had many more human books. And some of the categories include transgender. We had a book who is autistic and a psychiatric patient. One was a lesbian, one was woman in tech with chronic illness. Another book was blind and PTSD. And lastly, we were also joined by a police officer from the Mountain View Police Department, Lieutenant Wahid McGee. And we're planning our third and final Human Library event for the fiscal year in April 2023. Hosting Human Library events is one of the library's major goals for this fiscal year, and it's been a great experience. This past event, we had I believe we had 14 conversations with 11 different community members, and everyone I spoke with had really glowing things to say about the experience, and it's been a really great experience for me as well working with them. And another thing we have upcoming that I'm excited about is the return of Silicon Valley Reads. So Silicon Valley Reads is celebrating 20 years of bringing together communities in Silicon Valley with books and events centered on a timely theme. This year's Silicon Valley Reads theme is Journey to New Beginnings. 3 adult fiction titles were selected for 2023. That's There by Tommy Orange, The Second Life of Muriel West by Amanda Scanedifor, and What the Fireflies Knew by Kai Harris. The kickoff event for Silicon Valley Reads is this week on January 26th. The authors of the 3 book selections I mentioned will be interviewed about their novels. And you can register for that program and watch it from home, or you can register to watch it in person as well through the Mountain View Library website. We have 3 upcoming programs that we're tying into Silicon Valley Reads. On March 1st, we're hosting a conversation with Kai Harris, and that's in person. And she's the author of What the Fireflies Knew. And we're also hosting a meditation workshop on March 7th called Detox Your Mind with Meditation. And on March 16th, we're hosting a substance abuse prevention workshop with presenters from Rebecca Children's Services. And last but not least, I just wanted to showcase a couple more programs that we have coming up that I'm excited about. So on February 9th, Master Gardener Candace Simpson will discuss best practices for growing fabulous citrus. She'll cover planting location and method, fertilization and watering, frost protection, and how to identify and manage pests. And in honor of Black History Month, we're going to be hosting award-winning author and poet Marilyn Nelson for a poetry reading and discussion of Black history and culture. That's going to be on February 16th. And the tax program will be returning. So on every Tuesday and Saturday from February 4th through April 18th, we're going to be offering free tax help at the library with skilled volunteers from VITA. And our Sing and Play Ukulele Jam is going to continue every month from January to June. And our online author series is going to continue every month as well. And as I said, we'll get to have at least 2 to 4 high quality authors and speakers on a wide range of topics. So I'm really looking forward to those as well. And that concludes my presentation. So thank you all so much, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kyle. I see a hand up from Nicole.
Thanks, Kyle. That was very interesting. I had a couple quick questions. The first is with regards to in-person. events, how is the time available in the two conference rooms, the large room upstairs and downstairs, matching the amount of time that you'd like to have for adult programs? Are we doing okay there with the new setup?
Yes, it's been great having access to both program rooms. I mean, I would say for the majority of our in-person programs, we tend to do it downstairs just because we can have a lot more people and allows for more physical distancing. But for some smaller programs and for like our eviction help center, that's one that we often host in the second floor program room. But yeah, it's been great having both rooms, and I would say on average we usually have maybe 2 to 4 programs in person every week.
Good. Before the pandemic began, the library often hosted city council, people running for city council, the Q&A group sessions, which were generated a lot of community interest. I'm wondering if that might become possible again at some time in the future. And also, given what you said about viewership of recorded programs, even if this were to be done in person, would it be possible to record it and make it available for viewing for the broader community, as well as for those who might attend in person?
I'll answer the question about city council. That's up to the city clerk and the city manager's office. For those meetings, we're just a venue, so it's up to them to schedule accordingly.
Thank you. Thanks again for the presentation.
Of course, thank you. Thanks for listening.
Are there any other questions or comments from board members?
I appreciated the presentation as well, and just hearing the vast variety of programs available. I guess I am a little curious, like, how do you come up with new programs? Like, do you survey the public? Like, how are you coming up with new ideas for programs to offer?
Yeah, well, as I kind of showcased in some of those last several slides, we do have some broad categories that we try to meet every year. So we always try to analyze what we've done in the past that's been successful, and we also just try to see if there are any gaps that we're missing that we want to improve upon for the next fiscal year. We also do sometimes receive applications from the community of people who want to host programs, and of course they have to be vetted and go through a process, but sometimes we get programs that way. And sometimes it might just be I'm Googling something that I think sounds interesting that our community might be interested in. And then of course I always have to run any of those ideas by Melvin, and then we go from there. But we have a pretty good system in place.
I can add something to what Kyle has already said. So at the beginning of the fiscal year, we looked at what goals or projects that the library has committed to for the fiscal year. Most of that, like our city council initiatives. And then Kyle and I and others will do like sometimes a couple of hours of like program planning just to like map out like what kind of programs would meet this. Kyle is very good at like cold calling publishers, like authors. For example, he mentioned Jim Butcher, which is like a best-selling author. He just tried to like get in touch with the person or the author, and the author agreed to do the program for free. If it was someone else, they would probably like pay thousands of dollars for that. So he's very good at like cold calling. He's not afraid of being rejected. The worst thing that could happen, they would say no. But like that, the community benefits from that.
Yeah, I saw that you got Randall Monroe coming up. I just signed up for that.
Oh, great.
Next Casey the author. But I guess one thing, I mean, like, I'm wondering if there's a way we can get more of the like some public input into that in terms of like maybe a comment card at some of these events and say like, hey, what other events would you be interested, or just to maybe expand the. I mean, you're doing great work and you're very creative and coming with all these ideas, but like, I'm curious if there's a way we can include more community input.
Yes, well, so we do have comment cards that we welcome anyone who comes into the library can fill those out. Also through the Mountain View Library website, you can do the little contact us, and you can send us an email. There's different categories that, we do often get recommendations from the public about, hey, we'd like to see more craft programs, or I really enjoyed that musical performance you did last month. We want more of those. So we always take those kinds of feedback into consideration when we're planning.
Oh, great. Sorry, I'm new, so I'm learning all this stuff as I go. Thanks for the knowledge.
And also, we periodically conduct program survey, and we would ask questions like that, like what else do you want to see, and we've shortened the survey because our experience is that if it's more than a minute, people would not fill that out, and those surveys would look at program satisfaction, how is the author or the presenter, and sometimes solicit program ideas or what else they want to see in terms of programming.
Great, thanks.
I can go. Thanks, Kyle, for that presentation. One of the questions I had kind of follows up on what Eric was saying. I wanted to say that I've attended some of the virtual programming where you facilitated really great conversations with local authors like Vanessa Hua or Mimi Locke. And I was wondering how some of the local conversations, I guess how you coordinate those in relation to the new online series with all of the really New York Times bestselling, I guess, heavy hitters, we might call them. I attended the Frederick Backman one, and I saw that there were, thousands of people calling in from across the country. And I wondered, was there a demand that facilitated your setting up that program, or how would you gauge some of the local interest with the national interest, all of which keeps people reading, which is great.
Yeah, well, I would say that, with the online author series, it is kind of its own separate animal. That's something that we don't really get to, we do get to suggest, authors to the organization, to the consortium, but we're not really actively in conversations with those authors themselves. We're kind of just a venue to our community to say, hey, now you have access to all of these really big best-selling authors who we normally would not be able to afford. The other authors that you mentioned, like Vanessa Hua, Mimi Locke, those are people I just reached out to and was kind of cold calling, like Melvin said. So when I find, a best-selling author that I think, has interesting work that ties into our city council initiatives and goals, and something that I think our community would be interested in, especially if they're from the Bay Area, I just send them emails, try to find their publisher, their publicist, and go from there. Sometimes they reply, sometimes they don't, but usually they're very, very good to work with, and will oftentimes work with us for free.
Thank you. Kristen?
Yeah, is there a minimum number of programs that you aim to hit each year, or how do you decide? Is it just you call people and then if they respond, then you try and organize it, or is there more structure onto like how often? And
well, it goes into those different categories I mentioned. We do have different categories that are based on those city council goals. So as Melvin mentioned, we do kind of have a program. We sort of go through all of our programs that we've done the past fiscal year, and we try to match which categories those would fall into, and see if we're having any gaps, or if we're loading up too much on one category and not enough on another. And we use that information to kind of guide our programming decisions. And also with the pandemic, that's kind of messed things up a bit, but now we're finally at a point where now we can pretty much put on as many programs as we can feasibly organize. But in the past, during 2020 and 2021, it was definitely a bit more challenging, just because we were pretty much limited exclusively to virtual. So that made things more challenging. But Melvin, I don't know if you have anything more to add to that, but that's pretty much the process that we use, is using those different categories, using the city council goals and initiatives, and the library goals as well to guide our decision making.
Yes, in addition to what Kyle has already mentioned, we have kind of several buckets of programs that we offer. We have those homegrown programs, such as our sewing with FAVMO, our ESL Conversation Club, the Bike Clinic, the Ukulele Jam. So these are programs that are local in person that like staff developed and has been existing throughout the years. They've been popular, so we assess it on a regular basis. If it's something that reaches its course, then we stop it. Then Kyle do reach out to like authors. If let's say we have like an initiative at the height of like the protest movement during the summer of like 2020, Kyle was deliberately looking at like speakers who would like meet those initiatives of racial racial justice, social justice, and equity. He did a program with like Kimberly Papillon, who did like a workshop on equity that was like in 2020, I believe. And then Kyle already mentioned like Jamia Wilson. So we do have like we do look at that and then balance it. One thing that would limit the number of programs we could offer in a month would be space. If it's in person, we're sharing the space, like Nicola's observed, like the 2 program rooms with the youth division, who also have like story times and other programs that they offer. Also, other resources, mostly adult programs that we offer them between the time of like 6 to 8 p.m. To be able to capture like the working adults, like what Kyle has already mentioned. Something to, he already alluded to the fact that the pandemic disrupted our programming, but there was also kind of like a silver lining to that cloud, that we were able to offer virtual programs that no one was doing. Everyone was doing it like from their own bedroom. Kyle would sometimes do like an interview from his bedroom, and his pet cat would be like walking on his bed, like just in the background. So people just pivoted and embraced or made something out of the situation. We plan on continuing virtual programs because it works. Like the community loves it. We've expanded our offerings, so it's not limited to those who can just physically visit the library, those that are homebound. And with like the online author series, we're not just only offering like local authors, we're now offering authors from like the other side of the states, or more best-selling authors that in the past we won't be able to afford because like you can fly them in, and those are costs that the library doesn't have. So I think like in summary, like we do look at all those factors to offer like our homegrown programs, our in-person and virtual, and at the minimum we would have like maybe 7 or 8 in a month, and most of the time it's more than that if you add all of the programs in a month.
I see. Okay. I was asking because I actually think I think these programs are really great. I'm super excited to hear about it, and I was trying to figure out if the goals for this year were to expand it, right, to offer more than you did last year, and if so, like what were the limitations that you were facing to try and reach that goal? I think I didn't pose my question very well the first time.
Thank you for the clarification. We don't really like set as a goal like a certain number of programs. That is something that we decide internally by looking at the calendar and when we're doing program planning. However, our initiatives, which we have been continuing for the past 2 years, is to like offer a variety that would meet like the needs and interests of a diverse community. That's why you would see something we started for like the past 2 years, adding more bilingual programs. Kyle mentioned already that the partnership with the Chinese health initiative of El Camino Health, where wellness programs are delivered in English and in the Mandarin language. So that has been very popular, and it's a program that meets like one of the diverse or multicultural. It's a recognition of the multicultural aspect of our community. So we look at the library's initiatives for the year, as well as city council, and then we go from there. And of course, we want to like exceed what we've done for the past year, but you'll also hit a limit because of the limitations of space and all other resources. But so far, not to brag, but like I think we're doing good.
I was just going to add to that. Yeah, I don't know the exact number, but just anecdotally, I can definitely confirm that we have a lot more programs this year compared to the last 2 years, just because we have been offering a lot more in-person programs, and with the online author series. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it definitely is more than the last year.
Thank you.
I'm just finally to add what both Kyle and Melvin said. Our departments all the city departments have performance measures, and related to programs, our performance measure that we have is rate of satisfaction. As they both mentioned, we do survey attendees and so forth. And so our measurement isn't based on the quantity of how many programs we have, although we do track that and give that to the state library every year, as it's something all libraries submit to the state. But our concern is the quality and meeting the city council initiatives. And so what we look at is the satisfaction surveys. And we'll be probably in February or March looking at every year the Board of Library Trustees reviews the annual performance measures and then the 6-month performance measures. So from July through December. And we'll be bringing that to the board probably in February or March to see what our 6 months. Obviously, the last few years have been highly skewed, but we'll go over that in detail, especially for the 2 new board members, about those numbers and what they mean and so forth.
Thank you.
I also wanted to add how much I appreciate the staff. Kyle, thank you for explaining all the ways in which there's a lot of flexibility and pivoting necessary during the pandemic. I'm thinking about some of the virtual craft programs in which Candace had to think deeply about how to get craft kits into people's hands so that we could all craft together during the lunch hour. So I really appreciate the innovation and the patience and the thoughtfulness that's gone into that. I really liked hearing about the library's support for vulnerable populations. And one question I had about the Human Library was how you recruit some of the human books. I liked seeing the diversity of human books that were presented, and I'm sure it takes a lot of vulnerability for the human books to even show up. And so I wondered, how are you finding such brave people to come and share their time with the community?
Yeah, so, as I mentioned, we partnered with the Human Library as an organization. It's a worldwide organization started in Denmark, and they have book depots kind of all throughout the world. And so I was working with the Human Library organization. They connected me with someone who's from their Bay Area book depot. And so they kind of connected me to different books and different categories. Also, since this was our second event, I also reached out to some of the people who weren't able to attend the one that we hosted over the summer. And I will say also, just in advertising the event, we've also received some feedback from the community of people say, like, for instance, I received an email from someone when we put out our last newsletter saying, hey, I'm a disabled war veteran. I think I would be a great fit for this, and then if we think they would be a good fit, then they have to go through a training process where they set up an online training with the Human Library organization. And if anyone who's, whether you're the reader or you're the book or you're the publisher, which is the library that hosts the event, we all have to attend trainings with the organization, and it's they have a very strict process and that they have to go through. But we always try to make sure that there's a broad diversity of books in any human library event that we offer. So that way it's supposed to basically reflect the diversity of the human experience, the human condition. So we try to make sure that we're not loading up too much on any one category or perspective.
Thank you. Those were some great metaphors that you used there. Are there any other comments or questions from board members? Okay, I think it's time for public. Oh, Nicole.
I just wanted to add one thing. I'm so happy to see that the free tax help is making it back on there. I think that's such a valuable resource for the community. It's great to see that it can be done in person again. So thank you for making that happen.
Thank you. Yeah, we're glad to offer that. It's always been popular.
Okay, so for public comment, would any member of the public on the line like to provide comment on this item? If so, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. The library director will display the timer on the screen. I don't see any hands raised. Item number 7 is unfinished business, which says none in the agenda flow. Tracy, is there any unfinished business that we should know about?
No.
Okay, so item number 8, new business, 8.1, elect chair and vice chair. Tracy, is this when we would accept nominations for both positions? Or do we need to accept a motion to vote? Or what?
You can deliberate and someone can make a motion to elect chair. You can do it one at a time. So someone can make you can have a discussion and then someone can make a motion to, I move to vote for so-and-so for chair, and then you can do the same for vice chair. So you can do it in separate.
Okay. And would you mind, so I want to warmly welcome Eric and Kristen into our fold. I remember when I first joined the board, I wasn't really clear on the informal policies in terms of how we were rotating through some of these positions. Tracy, do you mind giving a brief history of what to expect?
Sure. So it's similar to city council, that they've rotated mayor and vice mayor, and some of the boards and commissions. It can be however you do it. For the Board of Library Trustees, as far as I know, and Phyllis and Nicole, I think, have been on the board quite a while, can answer that. But I believe you've just rotated on who was the chair last, vice chair becomes chair, and kind of have just done it by that. I believe you've all done it that way for.
And what's the rotation schedule? Like, is it a years? Is it like turnover every year? I know the term is 4 years for this position, so I'm just curious, like, how often do you rotate?
So once a year we have elections in January, and at that point we elect a new chair. Typically the vice chair becomes the chair, and so both positions are filled annually in January.
Got it. Thanks.
So
Part of
no
that-
one stays on. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, part of that is to have someone with experience and then a new board member. So we try, in the past, we've tried to integrate, somebody with experience with someone who's new, and then that person the following year moves up and we bring in another new person. So we try to rotate and let everyone have the opportunity to, in the past, everyone have the opportunity to be in a board position.
So if I understand correctly, the tradition would be that Sharon, as the current vice chair, would move into the chair position, and then one of Kristen or I would be moving into the vice chair position
Mhm.
to get some new blood. Okay.
Right, and you get some, more experience and you get different perspectives and, it just seems to work well. And we've been doing that for a long time. And it seems to work.
Yeah, just making clear for myself. Thank you for the explanation.
Are there any, should we start with nominations for chair then, Tracy? Is that the best way to move forward? Okay. Are there
Yeah.
any nominations for chair for the year 2023? Nicole,
I would like to nominate Sharon Sue for chair.
is
I'll
there,
second the nomination.
are there any other nominations before we ask Tracy to roll call vote? Okay, should we take a roll call, Tracy?
Yes. Phyllis Bismanowski,
Yes.
Kristen Higaki,
Yes.
Eric Nerlich,
Yes.
Sharon Sue,
Yes.
Nicole Vogt.
Yes.
Are there any nominations for the position of vice chair?
Before we do that, could we ask Eric and Kristen how they feel about being put on the spot like this, and if
Yeah.
either or both of them would be interested at this point in becoming vice chair? No wrong answers.
What do you think, Kristen? What do you think?
I'm ambivalent. If you want to
Yeah.
do it, I am all for it. If you don't, I can do it.
I was hoping you had a strong opinion because I feel the same way. What are the responsibilities of the vice chair? Maybe I should ask that before I volunteer for anything. Like the chair clearly runs the meetings and reads the agenda and so forth. What is the vice? Sharon, with your experience as vice chair, what do you do?
I think my role was to fill in when our former chair, Paul, who served for 8 years, if he was unavailable or absent. And unavailability in the Zoom world also means if he were to drop off the call or have internet issues, then I would be the person stepping in to run the agenda flow. He had excellent attendance though, so he was above and beyond a great chair. I have large shoes to fill.
And actually, just along those lines, as far as the chair responsibilities, beyond the meeting itself, are there other responsibilities for the chair and vice chair outside of the meeting time?
There's a quarterly meeting with the mayor that in theory, the chair is asked to attend with the chairs of several other boards. In practice, that doesn't always happen, and particularly in the time of the pandemic, that has not always happened, shall we say.
Okay.
There is the duty of the annual celebration, and the chair, every year there is an event. The city clerk's office puts an event together to celebrate all the boards and commissions. The city council are there. Awards are given to volunteers who have been on boards and commissions for a while. And then the chair would speak and give just an overview of accomplishments for the year, highlights of what the board does. It's maybe 5 to 10 minute presentation. And that would be the chair unless they're unable to attend, then hopefully the vice chair. And then if neither would be able to attend, it would be one of the other board members.
Got it. Well, Kristen, if you're ambivalent still, I guess I will volunteer to step up.
I nominate Eric to be vice chair.
And I'd be happy to second that.
Nicole and I are tied for seconding the nomination with enthusiasm. Should we take a roll call vote?
Phyllis Bismanowski,
Yes.
Kristen Higaki,
Yes.
Eric Nerlich,
Yes.
Sharon Sue,
Yes.
Nicole Vogt.
Yes.
I think we can move on to item 9 then, is that right?
And then just the public comment
Public
part.
comment, I'm sorry. Okay. Public comment. Would any member of the public on the line like to provide comment on this item? If so, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. The library director will display the timer on the screen. I will check. I don't see a raised hand. So we will move on to item number 9, the library director's report.
Nicole raised her hand. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nicole. Go ahead.
Quick question just before, I didn't want to interrupt Tracy's report. Would it be possible, maybe this is a question for Joy, to circulate the board work plan and the planning calendar and the policy rubric to Eric and Kristen so that they'll have them available too?
So Joy sent them the website with all of those items to review before tonight. So
Great.
she sent them all of that, the board webpage that has the work plan and the rules of boards and commissions and all that, which is on that webpage.
And the rubric is also included since that's less official?
Oh, the rubric. Oh, we can have Joy send the rubric. Yes.
Thanks.
And we'll explain, I can explain that in my report, what it is.
Thank you, Sharon.
Okay, so for the director's report, we will send Eric and Kristen. The board came up with, it's not a board and commission official document, but the board came up with a couple years ago an equity rubric that one of the previous board members came up with just as a tool, and then the members kind of looked at it, made a few edits, and utilize it when the staff bring policies that need updating or a new policy. On our webpage, we have several policies, and I'll have Joy send you the link to our policies page in case you haven't seen it on our website. But for instance, our library programming policy, we have a policy that kind of guides us on what programs we provide, and then there's a policy related to that. So if we needed to update it for some reason, we would do the research on what we need to change and bring it to the board. The board, one of the roles of the board is to adopt library policies. And so the equity rubric is sort of just a tool for you all to look at to see, does the policy fit within this equity rubric? But I think once you see it, you'll understand it more, and we'll get that sent to you so you have it. And then it does go, when we send the board agenda out for a meeting, that does include a policy discussion that we bring. We'll include that, but we'll send you a copy so you have a copy of it as well. I don't know, Nicole or Phyllis or Sharon, if you had anything to add on that.
I'll just say I found it helpful. When I had the idea, I envisioned a brainstorming tool, something that would help me when reviewing a policy to sort of look at these issues and think about them. So something to sort of prompt my better self to remember things to be considering while I was rereading policies.
So I only have 2 additions to the written director's report. We are currently in the recruitment stage for hiring a library manager position. And then we have 4 librarian vacancies. So we still have 5 vacancies, and HR is trying to get to those as quickly as they can. There's vacancies throughout the city. So we're anxious to get those filled, but at least one is in the recruitment stage. And then just so you all probably know that beginning in February, the meetings for all the boards and commissions will be in person. So that does make it easier. The reciting of everything in red kind of in the agenda flow will not be needed for in-person meetings. So running in-person meetings are definitely easier than the virtual meetings. So that's a plus, and we'll be meeting in the second floor program room. Just to note, the February meeting and the March meeting, because of the holiday in February, when we scheduled the meetings for the calendar year, because it's towards the end of February, there is only 3 weeks between the February and March meetings. So there is potential that we may cancel one or the other. We do have, and I know agenda setting is later in the agenda, but performance measures is usually in February or March. So it'll depend on if we get those statistics for by the time the February meeting is. And then every 2 years, City Council does their goal setting, and they do ask for the boards and commissions to review and to give input. So this year is the year that the boards and commissions will be given the opportunity to look at that. And that will be either, depending on when the city manager's office gets that out and what their timeline is, it will be either February or March. So we may have to meet both, or one or the other, depending on those timelines. So just to give you a heads up, but the next meeting will be in person. So that's all I have for my report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Tracy from board members? Okay, I can move to public comment then.
Yes.
Would any member of the public on the line like to provide comment on this item? If so, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. The library director will display the timer on the screen. I don't see any raised hands. So we can move to item 9.2, agenda setting from Tracy.
And then, as I mentioned, we will have our mid-year performance measures, and we'll send out, it's in the budget document, all the departments' performance measures, but along with the rubric, Eric and Kristen, I'll have Joyce send you a copy of our performance measures, so our current ones and our goals for this year. So you have those as well. And then we'll have those 6-month numbers either at February or March. And then, as I mentioned, the city council input on their goals. And then we will have a staff presentation either in February or March as well. Another staff presentation.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from board members?
So just to double check my understanding, I'm looking at the work plan, and the performance measures would be like the library usage statistics and performance measures. Is that's biannually reviewed?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
So for public comment, would any member of the public on the line like to provide comment on this item? If so, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. The library director will display the timer on the screen. I don't see any hands raised from the public. So item number 10 is adjournment. The meeting okay.
Yeah.
The meeting is adjourned at 8:17 p.m. The next library board meeting will be held on Monday, February 27th, 2023 at 7 p.m.
Well done.
Thank you. Thanks, Phyllis.
Sharon for Sharon.
It takes a
Way
little
to step
getting
up,
used
Sharon.
to. It's kind of, yeah.
Well, and then next